Hi there, in this screencast I'm going to continue on with the operator buttons, except this time I'm going to write the code for the exponent key, no, not the exponent key, the reciprocal, square root, percent, and plus minus key. So let's look at each of these buttons, and if you think about it, and I alluded to this in the last screencast, whenever you have one of these buttons, like the reciprocal key, your calculator is going to immediately compute the reciprocal and store the answer, put the answer right back in the display. There's no need to press the equals button. It just kind of happens instantly. That makes the event handlers for these buttons a little bit different than the ones for the operator buttons. And that is, in the event handlers for these buttons, we actually are going to do the arithmetic immediately instead of waiting until the user clicks the equals button. You don't need to wait until that because there are only one number is involved. So let's create the percent one, and then we'll do the square root one, and then the reciprocal one, and then the plus minus. Okay, so the percent, I basically can do, let's see, I'm going to, first of all, I'm going to take in what number is in the screen on the display of the calculator. So that first line is going to be the same line that is found in the other operator buttons, and that's going to be true for each of these operator buttons I'm doing now. Okay, so I have the number stored. Now I'm ready to do the computation with it. So the percent one, I'm going to say num1 equals num1 divide by 100. Okay, so what this assignment statement does is it takes what's stored in num1, it divides it by 100, and then assigns it back to num1 again, so that num1 has a new value equal to what it had been divided by 100. So for the square root button, we have to use a special method called math.pow, and basically math.pow raises something to a power. Now, if you've taken Algebra 2 and know about rational exponents, you'll know that the square root of something is the same thing as raising something to the 1/2 or 0.5 power, and we're going to use that fact to compute what the square root of num1 is, and then we're going to assign that value right back to num1. Okay, and then for the reciprocal, it's going to be num1 equals 1 divided by num1. And then for the plus minus, well, if you think about it, changing the sign of something is really the same thing as multiplying that same number by -1. So if it was a negative number, it will become a positive number. If it's a positive number, it will become a negative number. So I'm going to say, let's see, num1, let's see, equals num1 times -1, and then semicolon. And then I think that should do it. Let's go see. Oh, no. I forgot one of the most important things. We did compute the square root, the percent, reciprocal, change the sign, but we didn't put our result back out in the display of the calculator. So as a result, even though we made the computation, the user isn't going to be able to see it until we actually put it out there. So we're going to do this. We're going to say lbl display.text, And then we're going to use an equals because this needs to completely overwrite what's already there. So, and the way we're going to make a string out of a numeric value is we're going to concatenate empty quotation marks to the variable that is storing the value. So this line of code needs to go in, needs to be the final thing that gets done in each of those 4 event handlers. Now let's go see if it works. Yep. Let's see. 2 reciprocal, it should show me 1/2. 4 square root. Yep. And what's the other one? Let's say 63 and negative. Good. Yes. Okay, so at this point, well, you may say, well, what if the user presses once a negative number right off the bat when they're entering a number instead of it being subtraction? Well, how would I take care of that? Well, it would have to be in the minus event handler. But if you think about it, if you want subtraction, that really assumes that there has to be a number in the display that you're subtracting. So if there's no number in the display, we can actually tack on a minus well, actually make the display be a minus. So I'm going to do that using a conditional statement, and I may be jumping ahead of myself a little bit. But if I go back up to the event handler for the minus button, I'm going to say if label display dot text, and then I'm going to say not exclamation point, not equals, so that's not equals, and then I'm going to say that, and then I'm going to say then label display dot text equals minus. Okay, and then I'm mixing my programming languages. Okay, that's better. I was actually using Visual Basic, which we're of course not learning how to program in. Okay, and notice it did not fix the tabbing of my code, so I'm going to go in and tab it correctly. So now, if there's nothing in the display, it puts a minus there. Otherwise, if there's something in the display, it assumes that you want to do subtraction, so it goes through the process of taking in the number, making the op chosen be subtract, and then blanking out the display. So that should handle that, and you won't have to be like those annoying TI calculators from, I think the TI-84, if I'm not mistaken, is like that, where you can't just use the minus sign for a negative number if it's the first number you're entering. But your calculator is much more advanced than that overpriced piece of 1990s technology. And don't get me started on it, so I'm just going to not say any more about it. You can ask me later what my opinion is. All right, that's it, and now you should have some real functionality in your calculator. Let's see. Let's just try that minus sign. So if I now do minus, an unhandled exception occurred. Let's see. I have my logic backwards. It should be, I wonder which of you caught this. It should be, if it's equal to nothing, that's when I want to put a minus sign in there. Otherwise, I want to go through the steps of doing subtraction. So I had it exactly reversed. I said if it's not equal to nothing when I meant if it's equal to nothing. So if I do 6 minus 3, yeah, that works. Now if I do minus 3, yes, I have a negative number by doing the minus sign. Then I can always press the plus minus sign. This keeps you from having to, the user from having to enter, always using the plus minus sign for a minus value when it's the first number that's being entered in the calculator. All right, it works.